After a major transition, the hardest part may not be meeting one person. It may be realizing that the whole structure that once put people into your week has changed. If your social life no longer fits the life you are actually living, that is not proof that you have failed at connection. The next social life has to be built on purpose. That sentence may sound practical, but it is also gentle. It means the gap in your week is not a verdict on your warmth, your character, or your ability to matter to other people. It may mean that a role ended, a household changed, a marriage changed, a job disappeared, a place, person, routine, or identity that used to organize contact no longer does that work. Earlier in life, you may not have noticed how much social architecture was being built for you. School, work, children, shared routines, and recurring obligations kept placing familiar people into your path. Then a transition arrives and the path changes. The private shock is not always that nobody cares. It is that the life which once made care visible has stopped arranging the meetings. So the question now is not how to become more likable. It is how to build the conditions where connection can happen again. Most advice after a life transition begins with feelings. Heal first, find yourself, wait until you are ready. Those things may have their place, but they are not the whole social problem. After a major transition, what often changes is not only how you feel, it is who appears in your week, who expects you somewhere, and who has a reason to speak to you twice. This is not about starting over. Starting over sounds as if everything before has been erased, and it has not. You are not beginning with nothing. You are beginning with experience, memory, preference, judgment, and a clearer sense of what a social life has to do for you now. What has changed is the architecture around those things. So the first task is an audit, not an emotional audit, but a structural one. What did the old life provide? Did it give you predictable contact? Did it give you a recognized role? Did it give you informal conversation before and after the main activity? Did it give you people who knew your name without a formal invitation? Did it give you small reasons to follow up? That audit matters because the next social life cannot be built by copying the old one exactly. It has to replace the functions the old life used to carry. Once you can name the function, you can choose the next context more intelligently. You stop asking, "Where can I meet people?" and start asking, "Where could I become known?" That is the difference between wandering into social activity and beginning to build. There is a useful way to think about this from social relations research. Tony Antonucci and colleagues developed what is known as the convoy model of social relations. In plain English, your relationships move with you through life like a changing convoy. Some ties stay close, some move further out, and new ties can enter as your roles and circumstances change. The point is not the technical model, the point is permission. Your social world changing after a transition is not proof that something has gone wrong with you. Social worlds change when the life carrying them changes. Research on group membership gives us the next part. Catherine Haslam, Yolanda Jetten, Alexander Haslam, and colleagues have argued that groups can support identity during transitions because they give people more than contact. They give a person a place to stand. A volunteer is not only present in a room, and a class member is not only sitting in a chair. A regular is not only passing through a doorway. Those roles tell other people how to recognize you. They tell you how to return. That is why a context with a role is stronger than a context with only attendance. You are not just looking for more people. You are looking for a setting where you can become legible to the same people over time. Then comes the evidence that makes this hopeful. A national study of 3,005 Americans aged 57 to 85 found that older adults were not simply withdrawing from social life. About 3/4 took part weekly in at least one form of community engagement, neighbor contact, volunteering, organized group meetings, or similar. The researchers also found that the oldest adults were not necessarily the least engaged. People in their 80s were twice as likely as people in their 50s to engage in one of these activities each week. That is not a story about decline. It is a story about adaptation. After roles and closed networks change, adults can build new forms of community contact. The question is not whether this is possible. The question is what to build first. This does not mean every older adult has an easy path. Money, transport, health, caring responsibilities, grief, confidence, and local opportunity all matter. But the finding breaks the fatalism. It says that later life can contain active rebuilding. Research on social programs for older adults suggests something similar about the quality of the context. Reviews in 2005 by Katan and colleagues and in 2011 by Masi and colleagues found that active, targeted, participatory group settings looked more promising than passive exposure alone. That is research context, not a prescription. But as a practical filter, it is powerful. A room where you only consume content may not do much social work. A room where you participate, contribute, return, and become recognized can do more. Finally, Ibarra and colleagues interviewed older adults in 2018 about reconnecting in later life. They found real barriers around uncertainty, technology, finding people, and knowing whether contact would be welcome. That matters because a rebuilt social life rarely forms by itself around you. At some point, a repeated context has to become a direct tie. A name has to become a message, and a pleasant exchange has to become, "Will you be here next week?" That is not neediness. That is construction. Robert is 57. He is not in the first week after retirement anymore. That first disorientation has already passed, but the shape of his week still tells the truth. Work used to give him predictable contact, a recognized role, small requests, and informal conversation. So Robert does the audit. He does not write, "I need friends." That sentence is too large to build from, so he writes, "I need somewhere useful to be on the same morning each week." That is how he chooses a conservation volunteering shift. Same place, same people, visible task, a reason to talk before and after. The first deliberate act is small. He emails the organizer and commits to 4 Tuesdays. Not forever, 4 Tuesdays. On the first shift, he clears a path with 3 other people. They talk about the weather, the tools, a bird one of them can name, and the strange satisfaction of making a small area look cared for. At the end, Robert does not ask anyone to become important to him. He asks one person, "Do you usually come every week?" That is all. But the sentence changes the next Tuesday. Carol is 54. The divorce and the empty nest are not new news anymore, but the old invitations have not returned in a different form. So Carol does the audit too. Her old life gave her school gate recognition, shared logistics, casual follow-up, and people who knew where she belonged before she entered the room. She chooses a ceramics class because it has a shared activity and the same people. It also has time at the sink afterwards, when conversation can happen without being forced. On the first week, she makes a bowl that leans slightly to one side. On the second week, another woman jokes that the bowl has personality. By the third week, Carol recognizes her, so Carol arrives 10 minutes early and saves the next seat. When the woman comes in, Carol says, "I usually sit here, join me if you like." It is not a confession. It is not a speech about loneliness. It is one small piece of architecture. Here is the construction sequence. First, audit the old social life by function, not by nostalgia. Do not only ask who used to be there. Ask what the old structure made possible. Did it create repetition? Did it give you a role? Did it let people recognize you without planning? Did it create easy follow-up? Second, choose one recurring context that can replace one or two of those functions. Not 5 contexts, 1 weekly class, volunteer shift, choir, walking group, community garden, faith community, or regular table at a local group where people actually talk. The test is not whether it sounds impressive. The test is whether the same people can encounter you again. Third, choose a context that gives you a recognized place, not just a room. Attendance is weaker than participation, and participation is weaker than contribution. If you can carry chairs, water plants, set up tea, bring the spare pens, keep score, sort donations, welcome new people, or help with the task, you become easier to recognize. The role does not need to be grand. It only needs to make your presence slightly more visible and slightly more useful. Fourth, create a direct tie. This is where many adult social lives stall. You may see someone repeatedly, enjoy the contact, then leave the relationship inside the room forever. The direct tie is the bridge out of dependence on the context. It might be exchanging numbers, saying, "I will send you that link," or asking, "Are you coming next week?" Fifth, make the small move before the moment dissolves. Do it while coats are going on, while mugs are being washed, while tools are being put away, while the warmth of the conversation still exists. The sentence should be small enough to survive refusal. "I usually arrive early. I can save you a seat. I am coming again next Tuesday. Will I see you there? I was going to get a coffee after this. You would be welcome to join me." The point is not to force intimacy. The point is to make the next ordinary moment easier to repeat. Sixth, give it time. Familiarity usually arrives before intimacy. Recognition arrives before trust. Continuity arrives before closeness. If you expect a new context to feel like an old friendship in week 2, you may leave too soon. The task is not to decide immediately whether these are your people. The task is to return long enough for people to become people, not categories. That is how a room becomes a rhythm. There is a deeper dignity here. The person who builds their social life deliberately is not compensating for a deficiency. They are doing openly what earlier life often did invisibly. The social architecture was always there. School built it, work built it, children built it, shared routines built it too. They gave you repetition before you knew repetition mattered. They gave you roles before you had to choose them. They gave you proximity, recognition, small talk, shared tasks, and reasons to return. After a transition, those conditions may no longer arrive automatically. That is not a burden. It is just the work becoming visible. And when the work becomes visible, you can meet it with craft instead of shame. You can choose the context. You can choose the role. You can choose the first small move. You cannot choose whether every person responds or the speed at which trust arrives. But you can choose the conditions under which another conversation becomes possible. Hope is not waiting for a full social life to arrive. Hope is choosing one condition this week that makes another conversation more likely next week. That is a small sentence, but it is a complete beginning. So do not ask whether you are socially behind. Ask what your old life used to organize for you, and which part of that structure is missing now. Ask where one missing function could be built again in a way that fits the life you are actually living. Not the life before the transition, this one. The next social life may begin with a room, but it does not end there. It begins when the room repeats. It strengthens when you have a role inside it. It changes when one familiar person becomes a direct tie. And it deepens when you keep giving familiarity enough time to become something warmer. If this video sparked your curiosity, the Connection Letter continues the conversation every Saturday. It is a free weekly digest with one research finding, one practical idea to experiment with, and one question that stays with you. The link is in the description. Before you leave, carry this question with you. What is one recurring context you could choose, one role you could take inside it, and one small first move you could make before the moment dissolves?